Speaker's ruling on the point of order is final. Honorable members, I want to thank you for your support and cooperation. On another note, I would like to share a small speech in accordance with 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Violence, a global issue that has destroyed many families, left unhealable scars and unforgettable memories to people of all ages. This year's theme for 16 days of activism against gender-based violence is Unite to end violence against women and girls. According to Belize Crime Observatory, domestic violence against women and girls have increased to 18% compared to January through August of 2021. And 1 in every 2 cases of violent acts have been committed against females between the ages of 14 to 34. When will the violence against women and girls end? Maricela Gonzalez, Tracy Thompson, Ima Landero, Angelina Lemos, and Laura Parham, just to name a few. How many more victims of violence should that some resulting in death have to arise for this nation to be more than just cognizant of violence committed against women and girls? Women and girls have an irreplaceable role in this world. We must unite to protect them, be advocates for violence against women and girls, report cases of gender-based violence, and do not turn a blind eye. Thank you.
Introduction of the bill.
I recognize the Honorable Minister of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology.
Madam Speaker, I rise to introduce a bill for an act to amend the Education and Training Act, Chapter 3601 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to provide for the expansion of education for children and young people in Belize, to provide for vocational programs in all high schools and tertiary level institutions, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto.
Honorable members, that bill is referred to the Education, Sports, and Housing Committee for examination, consideration, and report.
In the Education and Training Act, Chapter 3601 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to provide for the expansion of education for children and young people in Belize, to provide for vocational programs in all high schools and tertiary level institutions, and to provide for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto.
I recognize the Honorable Minister of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with Standing Order Number 49-1, I move that the bill be taken through all its stages forthwith.
Honorable members, the question is that the next stages of the bill be taken forthwith. All those in favor kindly say aye. All those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Motions relating to the business or sittings of the House.
I recognize the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Economic Development, and Investment.
Madam Speaker, I move that at its rising today, the House adjourn to a date to be fixed by the Speaker.
Honorable members, the question is that the House, at its sitting rising today, adjourn to the date to be fixed by the Speaker. All those in favor kindly say aye. And those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Announcement by the Speaker.
Honorable members, it has been agreed that the Education and Training Vocational Education Development Bill 2022 pass this day. As you are aware, under Standing Order Number 74, all proposed legislation, messages, petitions, and motions, and other matters relating to the subjects mentioned under the title of each standing committee shall be referred to by the House to such committee for examination, consideration, and report to the House. The only logical way for this to be done, other than by suspension of the standing order, is for me to suspend the sitting to enable Education, Sports, and Housing Committee to examine, consider, and report to the House on the bill. All those in favor kindly say aye, and those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it. The sitting is therefore suspended until the Education, Sports, and Housing Committee has concluded its business.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to lay on the table report number HR 1/1/3. Report from the Education, Sports and Housing Committee in the Education and Training Vocational Educational Development Bill 2022.
Honorable members, that report is ordered to lie on the table. I recognize the Honorable Minister of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology.
Madam Speaker, I move the second reading of a bill for an act to amend the Education and Training Act, Chapter 3601 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to provide for the expansion of education for children and young people in Belize, to provide for vocational programs in all high school and tertiary level institutions, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto.
All right. Proceeding for the debate can begin now. I recognize Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and fellow honorable members. I rise. May I refer to my notes? Today, I, the Leader of Opposition, will be speaking on the Education and Training Vocational Development Bill 2022. I disagree with this bill. Item 4.1 states, and I quote, "The government shall ensure in every municipality in Belize that there is 2 high schools and 1 tertiary level institution." End quote. I live on the island Key Cocker, where there is 1 high school. Now I ask you, shall this town fund adding another high school while also making a brand new tertiary level institution? Not only does this island not have the funding to do so, it does not have the population. On Key Cocker, there's a total of 2,000 people. It simply does not make sense. I provide a compromise. Why create something from scratch when we could instead create something, when we could instead develop what we already have? In quite a few institutions in Belize, these courses have already been embedded into their curriculum. You know these as technical schools, such as IT Vet, Orange Rock Technical High School, and Ladyville Technical High. By providing accessibility and education, we not only help those who are not academically inclined, we also give the chance for those who love academic school to continue their education. Technical schools are available, they just need to be better. If we change our focus to them, we begin to give every student, whether they prefer academic or technical education, the opportunity to learn. In closing, I would like to say a quote by the late John LeBeau. Fair doesn't mean giving every student what they want. It means giving every student what they need. Thank you.
Member for Belize Rural North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and fellow parliamentarians. Today, I stand in support of the bill, as I believe it can positively impact our future generations, as we will have a higher skilled population, being able to do a wider variety of jobs, not just doctors, teachers, police officers, or politicians such as ourselves, but this would also allow these individuals the opportunity to make more money to support their families. I also believe that by getting involved in these courses, you get to experience both hands-on and theory learning that will largely expand their capabilities. It will also have a higher chance of successful learning because it has been evidently proven that students learn when they are actually doing what they want to do. The Vocational Educational Development Bill will also keep the young generation interested in school because they will actually do what they want, while they're gaining working experience, boosting their talent and creativity and unique skills. If the generation is skilled and more interested in school, this would make them able to make more money legally, which would directly reduce the crime rate of Belize, making Belize a safer place for us all to live. Thank you.
I recognize the Honorable Member for Belmopan.
And good morning, Madam Speaker. Thank you for giving me the floor. It is a pleasure to be able to express my thoughts and views on the presented bill on vocational training and development in high schools and tertiary level institutions in Belize. I start in saying that having vocational trainings is a great way to have students take a more hands-on approach in using their other unique talents and gifts. With that being said, the Belize Education Sector Plan 2021-2025 states, and I quote, Belizean children will have access to quality education service, regardless of their unique physical, social, emotional, or academic needs. However, in reading this bill, there was no statement made as to how they would cater to the needs of our youths with diverse abilities for their inclusion and involvement in these courses. There are a few things I would like to mention that could be taken into consideration, as all our youth with diverse abilities would not be able to be as active and engaged in these courses, not because they don't want to, but because the necessary infrastructure, the appropriate accommodations, resources for students and staff, as well as the necessary policies are not in place for them to participate. What about having properly built ramps, wheelchair accessible space, readable signs in Braille, and e-books, just to name a few examples? Also, would the certified trade instructors be able to teach these youths with diverse abilities? Today, I stand representing all our youths with diverse abilities in hopes of seeing a change for the betterment of our lives and for us to be included in every aspect of society, as the theme for this year's World Children's Day 2022 states. Equality and inclusion for every child. Thank you.
I recognize the honorable member for Lake Independence.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, fellow parliamentarians. I rise to inform the House that I, Sapphire Jenkins, representative of Lake Independence, am in eager support of the Vocational Education Development Bill presented before us. Madam Speaker, may I refer to my notes? With over 100,000 students enrolled in educational institutions in this country, the expansion of vocational studies in our curriculum potentially impacts roughly a quarter of our population. By implementing this bill, the results are increased professional opportunities for our youths and a more productive Belizean citizenry. While some might focus on the cost attached to the bill, the projected return on investment is certainly greater for the overall progress of Belize and especially for our young Belizeans. Global studies indicate that the number of participants in the education system is inextricably linked with the country's future labor force. In 2021, our employed labor force was reported at 174,237 people, which equals the number of possible contributors to income tax. Income tax is one of Belize's largest sources of revenue. Therefore, adding to the labor force through vocational education is ultimately adding to the Belizean economy. As Benjamin Franklin once said, and I quote, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest," end quote. The interest it pays is quite literal. Globally, the rate of return on investment in schooling is approximately 10% at the primary education level, 5% for secondary education, and 16% for university education. Basic mathematics show that this investment will repay itself through a more stimulated economy. So while we recognize the current state of financial debt, this new venture is nothing less than a rewarding investment. In conclusion, I urge my fellow parliamentarians not to focus on the minor inconveniences we face today, but to look to the future, to be forward-thinking to a more productive Belizean population and a more progressive Belize. Thank you.
Verse 4, Orange Block East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Pleasant good morning to everyone. May I refer to my notes? Thank you. Madam Speaker, sorry, I'm so sorry. Madam Speaker, I agree that the bill can be beneficial when you view it in the light of promoting quality education. However, just as we tend to exaggerate the impact of our problems in life, we tend to overrate the solutions to those problems as well. I don't think anyone would say no to improving our education system, but that doesn't mean that the process of trying to bring this bill about wouldn't have negative effects on Belize's economic state. The question I have is, who will pay the teachers who will be responsible for teaching these vocational courses? Will the government that is already struggling to pay the teachers we already have pay them? We didn't reduce their pay by 10% for no reason back in 2021. Yeah, they did restore the salaries after, quote, bettering the country's economic position, but right now with the Russia-Ukraine war going on and a significant rise in global inflation, there has been report by statisticians that while earnings from domestic exports increased by 11.7% compared to the first 5 months, imports went up by a significant, listen to this, by a significant 44.6%. Now imagine having to pay these new teachers. Belize is a total of 75 tertiary and secondary schools. Multiply that by 11 because that's how many courses are listed on the bill. And you have a total of 825 teachers. You may even need more because according to that bill, every tertiary level institution would have to offer associate degree programs, bachelor degrees, or certificate courses. Plus, some of you have been saying that you would want to be limited to the courses listed on the bill. Or will the students pay for the offered vocational courses apart from tuition fees? If the students will have to pay for them, why don't they just attend the vocational schools we already have that are prepared with the equipment and experienced teachers who have been doing this for years? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the Honorable Member for Dangriga.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and honorable members of this honorable House. It gives me great pleasure to stand before you today to speak on behalf of the constituency of Dangriga and behalf of each and every child in this nation. Madam Speaker, I stand with great displeasure as I strongly disagree with the ruling party on the bill, Vocational and Training, Vocational Education Development. Vocational education is not advisable as it stems to lower employment opportunities, lower paying jobs resulting in a lower income for one household, lack of social acceptability to cater for a fruitful future as compared to traditional education. Honorable members, I will share a testimony from my constituency that has touched my heart with true passion. A young, vibrant young man by the name of Sammy O'Boy dreamt of becoming a professional carpenter as his predecessors in his family's history. His mother, Miss Roches, devoted herself in the daily preparation of bread and bun to provide the daily transportation and school fees, so Johnny could study at the Belize IT vet for the time frame of 2 years. Upon completion, he ventured into the community seeking jobs. He also attributed his studies to work for the funeral homes here in Belize as that was his passion. Sammy was told that his services were no longer needed as many funeral homes here in Belize imported coffins from countries, namely Mexico and Guatemala. Johnny was heartbroken that all the sacrifices made by him and his mother crashed down the drain. Sammy ended up with a low-paying job at the Tony Superstore as a shelf attendant. The moral thing to do is repel it. Walter E. Williams. Just imagine, after making so much investment to ascertain a vocational trade, and you are unable to use the knowledge and apply the necessary skills. Madam Speaker, honorable members, and all here gathered today, my constituency is economically distressed. Vocational and technical education is associated with low wages. Do you want to be like Johnny, who ventured in a vocational trade and ended up with less? I strongly say no to this bill.
I recognize the Honorable Prime Minister.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, my fellow Belizeans, and parliamentarians of the House. If I may refer to my notes. As we know, the Education and Training Vocational Education Development Bill 2022 is moving our education system forward by means of introducing as well as increasing vocational training and high-quality education within secondary and tertiary institutions. supplied with the tools necessary to offer the highest quality education, providing the means to become further economically productive and developing the potential for stronger livelihoods, which fosters overall enhanced lives for Belizean youths. Initiating change and a wave of evolution in our developing education system. As all individuals, our directions are different. We are not all in pursuit of academic activities and scholarly goals as our means of livelihood. A quote by Andre Gide states, and I quote, "Man cannot discover new oceans unless he has the courage to lose sight of the shore. We must not solely focus on academics. We must also make way and pave the road for those that would rather establish their lives based on tactile and more hands-on approaches to the society. For they make up the roles of what we don't usually see behind closed doors. Careers that require specific skills or knowledge of a trade are highly essential to overall development. Such individuals are necessary in a functioning society, for we are not all going to become so-called captains of an industry, but that the feats of those in a versatile, skilled, and at times strenuous labor is just as, if not more important, to uplift and maintain a nation. It is not derogatory, nor is it lesser to take on these roles. A keen example of the utility of these skills was displayed in the response within various sectors before, during, and after Hurricane Lisa. The electricity workers, communication workers, water workers, line workers. It is purely a great and very necessary aspect which serves to nourish and reinforce our nation's entire foundation. Therefore, it is in my best interest and the government's best interest to strengthen this aspect of education and pave the way forward for such studies and for such opportunities to be made for our fellow Belizeans, so that they do not feel restricted or held back by a lack of vocational and technical opportunities. We seek to expand the current reach and future impeccable class of education to develop an astute national curricula. Thank you.
I recognize the honorable member for Orange Kaya South. My apologies, Kaya North.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and fellow parliamentarians. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes? As the representative of Kaya North, I highly agree with this bill because youths can now take courses and further develop them into a career. By adding these vocational education department in both secondary and tertiary level schools, youths would engage in class that could at least have them gain experience in the type of classes they take and find a job. As Jam Adams once said, there are two educations. One should teach us how to make a living, and the other how to live. Vocational training prepares students in a skilled craft or trade to be a tradesperson or artisan. Vocational education is also educating individuals to prepare them for employment or self-employment with the courses they choose. ITVET is a great example of a vocational education school that teaches students trade skills from accredited instructors or established professionals. So, what if we had them in high school across the countries? Madam Speaker, this is why I highly agree with the bill on deploying vocational classes in Belize so students can learn a skill and can be employed based on the skill course they took. Thank you.
I recognize the honorable member for Toledo West.
Hello. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the floor. May I please refer to my notes? First of all, I want to thank the Heavenly Father for giving me the opportunity to be standing here today. I think that the Education and Training Vocational Educational Development Bill 2022 is a good bill. However, in order for this bill to be substantial, it needs to be amended. As the saying goes, we cannot put the carriage before the heart. And I repeat, we cannot put the carriage before the heart. And in this case, this is a perfect example of what is being done. First of all, investments need to be made in our human capital and workforce before head diving into something that we may not be able to support later on. We need to keep in mind that if there are additional vocational educational institutions, there will be an increase of demand for teachers. Thus, teachers will need to go through additional training in order for them to be fully qualified to train their trainees. Keeping this in mind, certain protocols and standards must be put in place for this bill to reach its full potential. To paraphrase the Myanmar politician Aung San Suu Kyi, at the moment, I would like to emphasize the need for vocational training and non-formal education to help all those young people who have suffered from a bad education. They have to be trained to earn their living so that they may be able to have adequate education and vocational training to be able to set up respectable lives for themselves. I, Diana Montes, area representative of Toledo West, agree with this statement and believe that if the necessary amendments are made to the Education and Training Vocational Development Bill, only then can it reach its full potential. Thank you.
I recognize the Honorable Member for Fort Jar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can I please refer to my notes? Good morning, Madam Speaker, and good morning, fellow parliamentarians. I rise in support of this bill, and this is because the development of nation requires skilled manpower, and vocational education prepares them for this job. The demand for skilled labor has increased manifoldly in both the business and government sectors. Furthermore, over the years, vocational education has diversified immensely. With this in mind, here in Belize, we must support this bill for the development of our country. We must bear in mind that not all students are academically inclined. This might be a major factor for them to stay away from school. By instating vocational education into the school's curriculum, it makes them have a new outlook in going to the classroom every day. We must look at this bill. It shows that the best interest of our young men and women of this wonderful country is by heart. By enlisting among other international lending institutions, this shows that it won't be a financial burden at once to our economy. We must remember, Madam Speaker, that the education is a long-term investment. Moreover, vocational courses come as a surprise package as students get the opportunity to enhance and get trained to improve their natural talents and skills. Besides, they come highly successful in their field and fetch a good package. This bill is a bill that will put every student in a better position to compete with our fellow Capricorn single market economic countries. In conclusion, the students who complete these courses are better equipped at attaining a job than those who only receive an academic education. It is an asset of our country. It is an asset of the country that helps the economy to develop and grow. Great nations like the United States of America have greatly benefited from these skilled workers. In addition, there is a high demand for these skilled people in both the government and business sector. Above all, it benefits us, students, us, society, us as a nation, and our employers. Thank you.
Honorable Member for Kaya Northeast.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and honorable leaders of the House. I stand here along with my colleagues against this bill. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes? Madam Speaker, all high school and tertiary institutions should not implement vocational education in Belize. Greek philosopher Plato said, and I quote, "The direction in which education starts, a man will determine his future," end quote. Now, the question that I will ask today, will we start our children in the right direction to have them reach their full potential? Or will we use their grade to determine our children and put them on life path that may foreclose their options by having all secondary and tertiary institutions offering vocational education? As I humbly stand before you today, acknowledging the fact that there is an institution for vocational studies, and that is called IPVET. There's another one on the Philip Bolton Highway, Tubal Trade and Vocational Institute, and Cayo Center for Employment Training. I stand firm on my point that all high school and tertiary institutions should not implement vocational education in Belize. With the government trying to propose such bill and instilling in the minds of parents that all schools have to offer vocational education at both secondary and tertiary level, it is misleading, Madam Speaker. This will have students conforming to mediocrity instead of challenging themselves academically. I must close by highlighting on the Mayan. So let me take you into Belize's history. While many or all people admire them for their hard work, Mayan people and many things they've made, the Mayas didn't go to any secondary or tertiary institution but were trained from a very young age. There should be institutions for vocational studies, and there should be secondary and tertiary institutions for upcoming teachers, doctors, lawyers, forensic pathologists, and others. Therefore, Madam Speaker, all high school and tertiary institutions should not implement vocational education in Belize. Thank you.
I recognize the honorable members for such request. I recognize the honorable members for consolidate.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and fellow parliamentarians. I rise. May I please refer to my notes? As Sonia Sotomayor, a well-known lawyer, rightfully stated, and I quote, "Until we get equality in education, we won't have an equal society," end quote. She elucidates that in order to have a balanced society, we need to have fairness. With that said, I, Ethan Castillo, the area representative of Carzabe, respectfully oppose the Vocational Educational Bill 2022 due to the questionability of its guarantee for providing resources and equal education. I pose a question. How certain are we that the government will supply for 62 secondary schools and 13 universities, making a total of 75 schools? Do they have the finances to do so? They are struggling to supply schools with the bare minimum, where teachers use their salary to provide resources for the students, and yet they desire to open this unit. The government should firstly focus on providing all secondary and tertiary schools with funding of resources and equal education before opening this unit. We can't move on to something new, meanwhile we are struggling to ensure that the teachers and students have equal resources they need to succeed in academia. Moreover, where are you planning to get the money from? We can't afford to continue borrowing as we are in huge debts. So I would strongly suggest that we correct the current imbalances so we can create diversity and passion by opening this unit. With that, I conclude that I, Honorable Ethan Castillo, oppose the bill until the government can assure us that each student enrolled in vocational educational program will be provided with resources and equal education to succeed for a prosperous and equal society. Thank you.
I recognize the honorable members for South Southwest. Good morning, Madam Speaker and honorable members of this honorable House. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes? It is a pleasure to speak about this bill on behalf of my constituency, South Southwest, and for every young person and youth that resides in this country. Madam Speaker, it is no secret that education plays an essential role for the succession in our country. Education provides our Belizean young people with the opportunity to move up the social ladder, to become economically productive, to develop sustainable livelihoods, and most importantly, to become important leaders that we urgently need in this country. However, Madam Speaker, we must also recognize that there's a minority of youth that are not academically inclined or cannot grasp certain subjects that are taught in these educational institutions. So, Madam Speaker, we must find a solution so that these youth are not a part of the 15.2% of dropouts in our country. In my perspective,
This bill will contribute to solving this issue. Madam Speaker, this bill will provide for the expansion of high-quality education for young people in Belize and to provide vocational programs. This will enable young persons to utilize their time constructively, Madam Speaker, and give them the opportunity to gain a sense of independence. Madam Speaker, if our young people are not productively using their free time, they will have enough time to partake and contribute to immoral and wrong things in our country. As the United Nations Convention of the Child states in Article 29, education should help develop child's personality, talents, mental and physical abilities to the full. This unit will facilitate in training in vocational courses, which includes cosmetology, barbering, welding, and Madam Speaker, the list goes on from the top of Corazal to the bottom of Toledo. Madam Speaker, if our young people are trained to do certain activities that they are compassionate about, I believe that they will become amazing prodigies that once again we imperatively need in this country. That is why I, Honorable Melissa Kwan, fully support the motion of this bill. Thank you.
I recognize the honorable member for Corazal North. Good morning, Madam Speaker, and good morning to my fellow honorable parliamentarians. Before I begin, I would like to ask the permission of Madam Speaker to refer to my notes. Let me start by saying that I fully endorse the concept of this bill. After all, it is our job as the opposition and the government to make sure that our children make the most of their right to education, no matter if they are academically or vocationally minded. However, I will say that this bill ignores the practical implications of the sheer number of courses that it is offering. My fellow parliamentarians, imagine yourself as vocational teachers under these circumstances proposed by the government. In the beginning, you have everything that you need to facilitate a smoothly running class. However, as time passes and infrastructure begins to age, you begin to dip into your own pockets to make sure that your students have the tools to prosper. In fact, such a situation already exists in our fully academic institutions. All of this is to say that the bill boasts a large variety of courses, but having such variety realistically means that teachers must make up for gaps caused by overwhelming ourselves with the costs and demands of running several courses. In fact, according to a recent survey by the National Center for Education Statistics, 94% of teachers spend their own money to stock their classrooms with the necessary supplies and resources. It would be preferable for the government to concentrate on financing a few profitable courses to address this problem. This will guarantee that each program receives the appropriate funding as well as curriculum development. All in all, we should focus on quality over quantity when it comes to our children's educational choices. Decrease the number of courses offered to give this bill a chance or throw it out altogether. Thank you. I recognize the honorable member for Orange Rockport.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. Good morning, Madam Speaker, fellow parliamentarians and Belizeans. Thank you for giving me the floor. I rise on behalf of my constituency, Orange Walk North. May I kindly refer to my notes? Based on the UNB Convention on the Right of a Child, Article 28, in reference to various conversations with colleagues, I concluded that to develop the country and create more critical thinkers, we have to invest in vocational education programs. Extending these programs to both secondary and tertiary level, it will make students want to attend school and participate more in different disciplines offered. For example, barbering, cosmetology, plumbing, tailoring, and even welding. Based on a survey done with 100 young people of my constituency, 65% of the participants choose barbering. This includes both male and female, but of the 65%, 38% were male. Madam Speaker, I believe this is to be an excellent way to keep our young men occupied and out of trouble. It adds value to their lives since they can become entrepreneurs and at the same time be creative. They would like to be certified because a certificate will make customers trust them more. Let us start by discussing the most popular choice, barbering. Barbering is a skill that can be mastered by many. Through short-term training, a few young people already accepted the challenge of becoming barbers, accessing the program offered. The other participants stated that they would like to try cosmetology because female beautification is a whole industry. Women invest in themselves with spas, manicures, pedicures, hair extension, and treatment. This is another example of how a program can create young entrepreneurs who are certified in what they aspire. But since it's just the beginning of this new implementation, we are more likely to start with 2 secondary schools, 1 tertiary school from each municipality to see how both education and training go. So with that said, we will ensure that all secondary and tertiary schools be equipped with the appropriate tools required for this course offered. I, Hipólito Gallego, here representative for Orange Walk North, is in full support with this bill. Thank you.
I recognize the honorable member for Orange Walk South. Good morning and thank you, Madam Speaker, and good morning, fellow honorable parliamentarians, invited guests, and viewers. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my note from time to time. As the area representative for Orange Walk South, I strongly stand in opposition to the passing of this bill. Should not be forced upon students who prefer traditional learning. For years, students have adapted to the traditional hybrid learning that educates and prepares them not only for a specific job, but to also become entrepreneurs, which can help students to be versatile with their work field. Vocational learning focuses mainly on preparing students for a specific job. Consequently, students enrolled in these vocational courses would only be prepared to work for other people because they will not have sufficient sources to create business for themselves. Furthermore, students who decide to enroll in these courses would then be forced to take the time to adapt to these vocational learning. This will obviously put a toll on students and eventually overwhelm them, which will definitely result in a possibility of failure. Moreover, there would only be a minimal number of teachers who are qualified to teach these technical courses, since teachers are already accustomed to traditional teaching. Possibly, many teachers will not want to teach Possibly, many teachers would not want to learn how to teach vocational courses. As a result, the cost of vocational learning would be more costly than traditional learning, because the number of vocational teachers. With that being said, where will the finance come from to pay for this qualification for the teachers to teach these trainees? Moreover, who will pay these teachers for their services? The government, who is already struggling to pay the entire labor force? I don't think so. In addition, the availability will be more aimed towards wealth, which means that there will be a low outcome in enrollment for these courses. According to Ms. Cecilia Ramirez, Deputy Chief Education Officer at the Ministry of Education, Belize, stated, and I quote, 21,838 students enrolled in secondary education, while 9,373 enrolled in tertiary education, 732 students enrolled in technical education, end quote. So now, why invest in vocational training if only 733 students or less are utilizing these courses? Thus, we should utilize what we already have and amend to perfection before considering to moving forward. With that being said, Madam Speaker, I, Ayana Stewart, area representative for Orange Walk South, strongly oppose to this bill.
I recognize the honorable member for Port Iowa.
Aye. Okay. Madam Speaker, I, Angelina Wright, may I refer to my notes. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the life of electricity. I know you missed it. The Vocational Education Development Bill of 2022 is a forward-thinking legislation that is ideal and a significant step forward for the growth of our extraordinary gem, Belize. This bill, when passed into law, will undoubtedly impact and transform families and communities, especially my own constituents of Port Loyola. The poverty rate, Madam Speaker, has been spiraling since 1993. What I'm trying to say is Belize is lacking in traditional employment, yet we can all stand and talk here, but the real solution lies in the person. If someone really wants to achieve a dream or a goal, he will do what it takes and work hard. Samuel Boy is still working in that store and abandoned his long life dream of being a carpenter. Action speaks louder than words. You believe a normal citizen could just go and fix their own torn electricity wire without no experience after Lisa? No! It's time to diversify our economy. It's time to invest in our youth. It is time to amend the Education and Training Act. The vocational bill will be a great leap forward as it offers cosmetology, barbering, electrician. These are pillar skills of society, the modern society. Without a barber, you won't look fresh. And if you don't have an electrician, you wouldn't have like you to our good friend Lisa. I, Antonino Jr., the representative of Port Loyola, believe this is a next step of a brighter stage of Belize. And so, this should be integrated into our present education system pronto. Lastly, to my fellow youths, don't stop seeking higher heights. Break through your limits. Feel at home in your own realm. Be unmoved, be unshaken. You have a future and it's bountiful. Thank you all and have a wonderful day. God bless Belize.
I recognize the Honorable Member for Belize Rural Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the floor. Good day, Madam Speaker, my fellow parliamentarians, invited guests, and media guests. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes? I rise here today to give my approval towards the Vocational Education Development Bill 2022 as the area representative of Belize Rural Central, as I believe that VOTEC is an essential skill that is needed in today's society should a natural disaster strike. A perfect example, Madam Speaker, was on November 2nd, Hurricane Lisa made landfall in Belize. Over 500 homes were destroyed by her forceful wind. Things were being flown off, cars being flooded, and worst of all, livelihoods of our fellow Belizeans being lost. When the people of our country were in need of help, was it the doctors that rushed to get the power back on? Was it the lawyers that scaled the ladders to connect the wires? And lastly, was it the bankers that helped to repair the cars after getting severely damaged by the rising waters? Well, to put it quite simply, Madam Speaker, the answer is no. And the answer will always be no, because the people that were key players in getting Belize back on its feet were vocational workers. I repeat, vocational workers. Electricians, linemen, and mechanics all learn to properly master these skills by completing a vocational program here in Belize. And even if they didn't, they bring back the talents they learned from outside of the country to help further develop our jewel we call Belize, that we call home. And in moments like those caused by Lisa, we are reminded of how crucial these skills are to our society. A country's development requires both academic and vocational skills. It would be wrong of us to presume that the medical and law departments are the only functional parts of our labor force, because doing that devalues, I say it again, devalues the importance of VOTEC in our nation. As Sylvia Matthews Burrell said, and I quote, "While natural disasters capture headlines and national attention short term, the work of recovery and rebuilding is long term." I repeat this quote again. While natural disasters capture headlines and national attention short term, the work of recovery and rebuilding is long term. The long-term rebuilding will always fall upon the shoulders of our vocational workers. And the bill we are introducing today ensures we will always have skilled laborers for important events like LISA. Madam Speaker, with that said, this is why I, Honorable Aoife Wade, representative of Belize Rural Central, support this bill. Thank you.
I recognize the Honorable Member for Colette.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Education is important across the board. This cannot be disputed. As the member for the Colette constituency, Madam Speaker, while I agree with one of the main focus areas of this bill today, I cannot afford it my full support because, Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my note? Children should have an opportunity to give advice on the educational path that they should take as stated in Article 12 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. As my other members have said, every individual has strengths and weaknesses. Everyone may not be good at traditional education subjects such as math and science. This may be confusing to them, but they may have a strong interest in coding and robotics. This means that this person should have access to skill training that would help them take this interest and turn it into a career. This interest in robotics can translate into this person fixing some of the issues we have in Belize, like the introduction of technology to solve traffic issues, public health, and other pressing national issues. These trades are more beneficial to people whose traditionally education fails, such as opposed to book learning, where there is a slim chance of them using that knowledge. So instead of secondary and tertiary level institutions being presented with these municipalities implement trade schools. This can be done through the use of surveys and other discussions with students, teachers, and education stakeholders. Serving on the different vocational skills will show how many students are interested in the different areas. This will avoid us from making any massive investment without knowing if this is something our young people want. Madam Speaker, not because the government sees it as something fit, means that it is something that represents the needs of our youth and other educational stakeholders. If they have a choice in which subject they want to take, the government can manage resources to ensure that these areas of interest are properly funded. This leads to a reduction in the waste of resources and a higher return for this investment. Once these are taken into consideration, then I can fully support this bill. Thank you.
I recognize the Honorable Member for Pine Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I kindly refer to my notes? I begin with a quote from Conrad Burns, and it reads as follows. Vocational education programs have made a real difference in the lives of countless young people nationwide. They build self-confidence and leadership skills by allowing students to utilize their unique gifts and talents. Close quote. Madam Speaker, as the representative for the Kayo Central constituency, I am honored to say that this is an excellent bill, and I cannot see any educated individual completely disagreeing with such bill. Vocational education is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to uplift our people and build our economy. I can assure you that the courses given generally and even compulsorily today does and should not define the future of our Belizean people. We need to open facilities specifically for vocational education. This will give our people hope. In a time of technology, every day you turn on your phones, you see someone showing off their hairdo or a pretty girl flexing her makeup look. And what do? We heart it, we scroll, and we go on with our lives. But if you really take the time to analyze, do you know where they learned how to do these things from? Not from their teachers at school, from the internet. When we look at recent events in our country, a perfect example is the winning of the robotics competition by those intelligent students from BHS to represent our country, Belize. This will allow more students the opportunities they need to succeed and survive in this technological world. Because we say, and I quote, all are we for win, then we must give the people the opportunity to win. We have to face reality. And the reality is that today, there are more vocational workers than there are people in the banks. And so, I conclude my speech by saying once again that I, Honorable Abigail Williams of Cayo Central, absolutely agree with this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I thank the honorable member for Caribbean Shores.
Good morning, Madam Speakers and my fellow parliamentarians. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes? I stand before this House in full support of the Education and Training Vocational Education Development Bill 2022. This bill will strengthen the identity and direction of young people in our country by offering viable opportunities to be productive Belizeans. Numbers don't lie. The Ministry of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology, stats at a glance, for 2021 to 2022 revealed that there are a total of 62 secondary schools with a total student enrollment of 21,838 students. Vocational school student enrollment is 732 students. The Belize Crime Observatory under the Ministry of National Security reported that in 2018, the total number of youth-involved violent crimes was 1,884 incidents. These violent crimes included murders, assaults, robberies, and rape. Many say that Belize lacks opportunities, but let's be specific. Negative opportunities far outweigh the positive ones for young people under the age of 18. Today, the Global Organized Crime Index states that there are over 40 street gangs in Belize, with youth memberships exceeding 1,400 in Belize City alone. This is trending in the wrong direction. The vocational education bill is the rocket fuel to propel our country and young people forward. So as parliamentarians, let's do the sensible thing and pass this bill. Thank you.
I recognize the honorable member for Cayo West.
Good day, Madam Speaker. May I refer to my notes? I understand all the points presenting howsoever amendment needs to be made. Although today's bill certificate will be awarded upon of the cover, howsoever, it is the correct reality that most people do not look at the certificate when deciding what business to support, but rather experience and the quality of the program. Take a look at nail tech. One has just completed a career in hairstyle, and the other has never completed one, but itself that has the experience of 5 years. Which one would you fit for the job? Majority has chosen the one with experience. It's that most people who provide hair or nail service in Belize are unlicensed. I am sure we have all personally contact who we depend to make us feel our best and choose. Those are homegrown and unlicensed. It makes no sense for the government to find such a program when we have already provided that our people are capable of learning those skills on their own. Thank you, Madam
Now, the Honorable Member for Carrizal Southeast.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, spectators, guests, the media, and my fellow parliamentarians. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes? I, Candace Danielczak, Government Area Representative, stand here today to voice my approval on the passing of Education and Training, Vocational Education and Development Bill of 2022. We must begin by considering the impact this bill will have on those in Belize that are unable to benefit from a proper education, those in need of the opportunity for knowledge that will help them find employment in the future. If we look at the percentage of male enrollment in classrooms, that has taken a considerable fall, and the fact that most dropouts are male, we will understand the urgency and the need for this bill to be passed. We must first understand, through interpreting the statistics, what is the root cause of this phenomenon. Is it that our males are choosing not to continue studies because they're expected to fill the role of a breadwinner in a single-parent household? Or do we face a national crisis where males have lost interest in academia? We must have gender equality, and we must ensure that everyone can be offered education programs where they are encouraged to develop careers on things they feel strongly about and things that will encourage them to continue their education. For example, STEAM education programs. For decades, Belize has relied on the same primary export products. Given the opportunity to develop vocational training, students of today can create initiative products that we need to face the global market and capture a more competitive advantage. Coming out of a global pandemic, and the world is now facing the Ukraine invasion, the cost of living has increased. We are facing 11% inflation. With this being said, Madam Speaker, I strongly encourage you to consider this bill and the positive impact it will have on the children of Belize and the future of Belize on a whole. Thank you.
I recognize the Honorable Member for Kickstop.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and everyone. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes? I agree with this bill because it allows children and young people to have a chance in life to be something, to be someone with a purpose. It's creating opportunities for our generation, the upcoming ones. Take a look at the devastation of Hurricane Lisa, where the majority of us suffered from water, electricity, and internet, the loss of. Many of us contacted people to help us restore the damages and struggle to find plumbers, construction workers, and electricians because they are limited. There are not enough people to help us with the proper skills and proper background to do so. This is a sad case because there are people who actually want to pursue an occupation in vocational learning and have been thwarted because many people in our country have been looked over and labeled as fools because they did not excel in the academic level and have been forced to rid themselves of a proper future and lucrative careers and turn to more vulnerable situations just to survive. Vocational learning is something just as important as what is being taught in school. This bill does not only provide opportunities and a high probability of successful futures, It also allows a drastic change in the economy, allowing it to grow alongside with its people. So this is why I strongly and wholeheartedly agree with this bill.
I recognize the honorable member for Queen Square.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise. May I please refer to my notes? I like to say I am very honored to speak on this bill on behalf of my constituency, Queen Square. I am here to fully vocalize that I am against this vocational education bill. Reason being is that there are already vocational schools out there and they have not shown to do any better than traditional schools. The data actually shows the opposite. The dropout rate for traditional schools is 5.3%, while the dropout rate for vocational schools is 9.4%, which means you are more likely to drop out of vocational schools than traditional schools by 4.1%. One of the reasons could be is that our youths aren't interested in school at all, and vocational education won't get them interested either. This is a social issue and not an academic education issue. The influence that our youths have does not favor education or school at all. This is what needs to be fixed. There's a rhetoric in our society that being academically inclined is uncool, for a lack of better terms. This is greatly impacting our education system, for it makes it seem that our youths do not like academic education, when in fact they are influenced to not take it seriously. With this issue at hand, there is another issue that it creates. There is a shortage in traditional employment, as we can see with nurses and doctors, which actually contradicts the other party's argument, which is that there is an overrepresentation in these fields. The underrepresentation in these fields, however, are so severe that it is impacting our economy greatly. If you look at the conditions of our hospitals and how understaffed they are, many people cannot receive medical care urgently or at all, as we saw in COVID. With that, I say, change our influence and we can change this country. Thank you.
Honorable member for Kyle South.
Greetings, colleagues and Madam Speaker. It's a privilege to be here to discuss the importance of vocational education. May I refer to my notes? Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon which we can use to change the world. It's a noteworthy fact that education is vital to our society. It's what an individual needs to grow, and it's what a developing country like Belize needs for our country to move forward. As students advance the levels of education, it's crucial that the manner of teaching and learning is diversified to educate properly. Since all secondary students will reach the point where they must choose their respective career paths, it's vital that the education available properly prepares them for the world of work. Which is why learning should also explore all skills needed in a work environment. Vocational education allows students to explore in great detail their interests, hobbies, and curiosities. The main focus isn't just academic. Instead, it's a practical approach to learning that teaches students using vivid real-life experiences. Therefore, adding vocational departments to all areas of academic study will not only aid in preparing students for the world of work, but further promote their skills and knowledge of their career path, and allow them to be certified at the highest level by obtaining a degree in that area. Madam Speaker, in Germany, an impressive 65% of their workforce was trained using vocational education, and in Europe, 45% of students were trained in the same manner. I strongly believe that through vocational education, students are offered the best learning opportunities that will nurture their talents to give them a rewarding future. If our country is to move forward and develop our skill-based workforce, it's imperative that we revisit our education system and build a curriculum which will allow students to apply their skills and knowledge in areas of vocational training. That is why I, Honorable Emilio Marin, a representative of Kaya South, strongly agrees with this bill. Thank you.
Honorable Member for Belize Rural South. Good morning. Good morning, Madam Speaker. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me the floor. May I please refer to my vote? I, Honorable Jada Wilshire, stand here today to say that I 100% support the passing of the Vocational Education Development Bill of 2022. It is no secret that Belize has an issue with its poverty. For years, our youth have been subjected to the effects of poverty, which are gun violence, drug abuse, and teenage pregnancy, because they lack the support and fundamentals they need to be successful in life. However, this can all change by implementing vocational learning in our schools across the country, both tertiary and secondary levels. Statistics shows that Mexico's poverty rate has decreased by 18% since implementing vocational learning in their education system. It is our job to invest in the youth of Belize, especially those who are talented and skilled in various areas of trade, but simply lack the resources they need to be victorious. Implementing vocational learning in all our country gives our youth an advantage in life to be successful entrepreneurs and have a stable income. It permits them to break the cycle of intergenerational crime and allows them to have a life where they are happy and contented. And to quote Marian Wright Edelman, and I quote, "The question is not whether we can afford to invest in every child, it is whether we can afford not to." Close quote. Our youth will have access to learning various types of trade: carpentry, barbering, cosmetology, and the list goes on. Vocational learning will not only build the lives of our youth and help them to escape from a life of poverty, hardship, and violence, but it will also help to build our economy. Once again, I say that I, Honorable Jada Wilshire, representing the people of Belize Rural South, fully support this bill. Thank you. Member for Toledo East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise. I wish to refer to my notes. I would like to start off with an old saying my grandfather always used to tell me. You may have heard some version of it as well. When you build a house, you start from the foundation, then the post, and finally the roof. Honorable members, this bill seeks to give our youths of Belize roofs over their heads, but no foundation to put it on. No post for it to be supported on. If you ask me, we are trying to grab this viper by its head and we are going to get bite really hard. I would like to remind this honorable house that in April of 2021, the rate of unemployment was 11.18%. I believe that all honorable members present here can agree with me that we wish to bring that number down. Can we all agree on that? Yes. Out of the total workforce of 181,734, 20,317 were unemployed. I want everyone here and at home, in the galleries and abroad, how many of those individuals did not have any level of education? Only 116. If not having an education was the problem for our Belizeans not to have employment, we would expect that number to be higher. Why would I go to my constituents in Toledo East and tell them, take vocational education training, if I cannot ensure they have employment after they have finished? Why should I do that? I am giving them keys to a door and having them face a hard, cold wall. As Honorable Member from Dungriga said, Johnny old boy, Sammy old boy, whoever it may have been, he wanted to be a carpenter. However, he is now stocking shelves in Tony's Superstore. Why should have that been the case? We should have made sure he was a carpenter. Would we not love to have his carpentry in my house? I would honestly want that. And I wouldn't mind sitting on his chair. I would feel proud knowing that I helped someone in Belize accomplish their dreams. For that, I believe that all of us should, one, yes, agree to the bill. However, let us address the root of the problem, which is unemployment. How can we all ensure that our members, our constituents, can finish whatever they dream, be it traditional, be it vocational? We should all ensure that they have employment after they have finished. The bill is good, however, it does not address the problem. We are fixing the symptoms, yet we left the main sickness unattended. For that reason, and many more, however, due to the limiting of time, I, Honorable Delvin Rakena, Area Representative of Toledo East, cannot support this bill.
I recognize Honorable Member for Albert.
Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, Madam Speaker. It is a pleasure to speak to you all about this bill on behalf of the Albert Division and giving my full support. Madam Speaker, I ask that I may refer to my notes from time to time. Statistics show that 19.27% of our Belizean youths in Belize are unemployed. Fellow House members, we are in this honorable House today to pass a law that will help today's children who will be the future leaders of Belize. I believe in order to leave no child behind, we must make other options available. We can continue to encourage higher education while making it possible for others to learn a trade. After all, statistics does show that despite having a degree, many individuals struggle to find jobs due to their lack of experience. We can encourage entrepreneurship among our vocational graduates by supplying them with loans to start their business and making available mentors who will offer them sound advice to help them achieve their success. Once their business is stable enough, the entrepreneurs can then pay back their loans at small interest rates. If we encourage entrepreneurship among our vocational graduates, this could not only lead them to provide an income, but bring about job opportunities for other graduates as well as generate revenue. I would also like to add that encouraging entrepreneurship is an excellent way to bring wealth and build a thriving economy. As I take my seat, giving my full support towards this bill, I'll leave you all with a quote by Narendra Modi. The more we give importance to skill development, the more competent will be our youth. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize Honorable Member for Sun Creek West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise. May I refer to my notes? Take a look at your fingers. The lines aren't the same. The fingerprints of twins aren't the same. The youths of Belize aren't the same. They don't learn this at the same rate. They'll have different skills and talents. While many are academically inclined, many will still prefer to do handwork. From primary school, a child has dreams, role models, and aspirations. As they grow older, tending towards their dreams give them the opportunity to their success, a step towards a better Belize. Caribbean Vacation Qualification creates opportunity to work within the Caribbean for people who are certified in different vocational studies. By approving this bill, we will aid in the preparation of our young people, not only to be productive citizens here, but regional as well. Without the handwork of the people, we will not have the beautiful government buildings, electricity, houses, etc. It took training and dedication for them to accomplish it. most of all, opportunity. Love, encouragement, patience, and vocational education creates opportunity to awaken their visions in them. Vocational education will bring out entrepreneurial skills from out of our youth, which can lead to innovation and discovery. In 2010, Education and Training Act was established in Belize, and I quote, "Vocational education and training allows students to gain practical experience in their chosen career path before they graduate. Students who finish these rigorous programs have the credential and training they need to get started right away in their chosen career path," by Jane Hennekins Peter. Offering training in barbering, cosmetology, electrical, etc. will bring out the joy in them, make them better citizens, and no youth will left behind. Expand vocational education for the youth, for you, for me. A better tomorrow will be a better Belize. We are the change for our society. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Freetown.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. I rise to address the vocational and Good morning, Madam Speaker. I rise to address the Vocational Educational Bill Development 2022. May I please refer to my notes? Let me begin by saying that my government is committed to the development of our country. We are an administration that believes in our children and young people. One of our pledges in Plan Belize was to set up a COVID-19 education team to reimagine education and accelerate change in teaching and learning. We believe that education is a very important tool in the development of our children and young people. For far too long, we have been doing the same thing repeatedly without achieving the results we want. My administration wants to be proactive, not reactive, especially seeing how we've been leaving behind a large portion of our children and young people due to the education system setup. The present education system caters only for the intellects, causing hardly, if any, provision for those who are hands-on. Please don't get me wrong. Belize needs our children and young people to learn the subjects that are presently being offered. May I remind us that education should be holistic, developing the entire person. Hence, making my administration lean towards putting our words into action. Our young people are seen graduating from high school, yet lack the skills needed for them to overcome the different challenges of life when faced. The Education and Training Vocational Education System Bill 2022 is a move in the right direction. This will help our young people learn the necessary skills needed to enter the real world, allowing them to properly be entrepreneurs. Let me remind you, lest you forget the words spoken from our Prime Minister during this year's budget speech saying, and I quote, 13.5 million to the education sector to improve access, equity, and equality in our all-important education system, end of quote. This bill, Madam Speaker, speaks to these three overarching themes: access, equity, and equality. By providing vocational education, we are equalizing the play field for those students who love hands-on learning. This will be something unprecedented in the history of Belize. It is time to equip our citizens with the necessary tools in order to produce productive persons. It is time to rise to the occasion. If this does not show our commitment to our children and young people, then, Madam Speaker, I honestly don't know what will. I move that the question be put out. Thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act to amend the Education and Training Act, Chapter 3601 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to provide expansion of education for children and young people in Belize, to provide for vocational programs in all high schools and tertiary level institutions, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto, be read a second time. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
This for an act to amend the Education and Training Act, Chapter 3601 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to provide for the expansion of education for children and young people in Belize, to provide for vocational programs in all high schools and tertiary level institutions, and to provide for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto. House on bill.
Honorable members, the House will now resolve into a committee of the whole House to consider the bill that was read a second time. I, the Honorable Member of Education, Culture, Science and Technology.
Madam Speaker, I rise to report that the Committee of the whole House has considered the Education and Training, Vocational Education Development Bill 2022 and passed it without amendment. I now move the third reading of a bill for an act to amend the Education and Training Act, Chapter 3601 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to provide for the expansion of education for children and young people in Belize, to provide for vocational programs in all high schools and tertiary level institutions, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act to amend the Education and Training Act, Chapter 3601 of the Substantive Law of Belize, Revised Edition 2022, to provide for the expansion of education for children and young people in Belize, to provide for the vocational programs in all high schools and tertiary level institutions, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto, be read a third time. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Revised Edition 2020. To provide for the expansion of education for children and young people in Belize. To provide for vocational programs in all high schools and tertiary level institutions, and to provide for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto.
I recognize the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment.
Madam Speaker, before I move to the motion for adjournment, I would like to say a few words, if I may refer to my notes. I must extend a wholehearted appreciation to the NCFC and its countless staff who have tirelessly prepared the parliamentarians for this momentous day. It has been a supportive and proficient environment for all involved. I express my consolidation and delighted thanks to the entirety of the Children's Parliament for their advantageous strides and permanent mark on our nation's youth. Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Honorable members, the question is that the House do now adjourn. Do now adjourn. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it. The House now stands adjourned.
Let us pray. Almighty and eternal God, who through Jesus Christ has revealed your glory to all nations, please protect and preserve Belize, our beloved country. God of might, wisdom, and justice, please assist our Belizean government and people with your Holy Spirit of counsel and fortitude. Let the light of your divine wisdom direct their plans and endeavors so that with your help we may attain our just objectives. With your guidance, may all our endeavors tend to peace, social justice, liberty, national happiness, the increase of industry, sobriety, and useful knowledge. We pray, O God of mercy, for all of us that we may be blessed in the knowledge and sanctified in the observance of your most holy law, that we may be preserved in union and in peace, which the world itself cannot give. And after enjoying the blessings of this life, please admit us, dear Lord, to the eternal reward that you have prepared for those who love you. Amen.
Announcements by the President.
Good morning, honorable senators. I want to welcome you all today to this special meeting of the Senate. I am sure it is an honor for us to be here today. Before we start today's meeting, I wish to particularly draw your attention to the Standing Orders 35 on interruptions, 36 on content of speeches, and 44 on order in the Senate. Senators, please be reminded that the official language of the Parliament is English. As well, when a member is on his/her feet speaking, he or she should only be interrupted on a legitimate point of order by another member, who should clearly state specifically what is his/her point of order. Keep in mind, the President's ruling on the point of order is final. Secondly, as we recognize the 16 days of activism to end violence against women and girls, let us unite to end violence against women and girls. The change starts with you and me. It's time to end our chauvinist aspects towards us females. We deserve respect, love, and protection. We complement each other. Let's not leave this story in the dark. All it takes is one voice to start a movement. Let's turn our tiny whispers into loud screams. Let's say we shall not tolerate this inhumanity towards us women. We are strong, versatile, and capable of anything. Honorable members, I thank you for your support and cooperation.
Bill brought from the House of Representatives.
I recognize the leader of government business.
Thank you. Madam President, I rise to take charge of the Education and Training Vocational Education Development Bill 2022. Madam President, in accordance with Standing Order number 49, I move that the bill be taken through all its stages forward.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill be taken through all its stages forthwith. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Motions relating to the business or sittings of the Senate.
I recognize the leader of government business.
Madam President, I move that at its rising today, the Senate adjourn to a date to be fixed by the President.
Honorable members, the question is that at its rising today, the Senate adjourn to a date to be fixed by the President. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Aye. Those against, kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Public Business, Clause A, Government Business, Bill for second reading.
Education and Training, Vocational Education Development Bill 2022. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I rise to move the second reading of a bill for an act to amend the Education and Training Act, Chapter 36(1) of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2022, to provide for the expansion of education for children and young people in Belize, to provide for vocational programs in all high school and tertiary level institutions, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto.
I recognize Senator Cabral.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President, for giving me the floor. I'd like to stand to address my disapproval of this bill. May I please refer to my notes? I stand here today as a voice to discuss the Vocational Education Development Bill of 2022. I'd like to bring to your attention, first and foremost, that our schools are already being occupied by initial academic programs. In the act itself, it states, to provide for an expansion of education for children and young people in Belize. While I agree that there is a need for expansion in education, I firmly hold that we should not implement vocational programs in tertiary level institutions, as prioritizing these programs would take a lot of time, money, space, energy, and space, while still having the risk of crumbling. We must focus on giving more financial support to the already tertiary level schools. A quote from David Allen Coe reads, "It is not the beauty of the building you should look at. It is the construction of the foundation that will stand the test of time." The Act once again states that the unit shall ensure that every school and tertiary level institution is supplied with the tools necessary to offer high quality education. To further emphasize my statement, according to the budget speech of 2022 to 2023, our overall budget performance of this fiscal year is 527 million, which was an increase from last year. Madam President, we need to face the facts. Why establish something from the ground up when we already have functioning IT vet schools? To put it into metaphoric terms, if we have the foundation for the house, let's finish building it. This is why I, Senator Cabral, cannot agree with this bill. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Torres. I recognize Senator Sosa.
I rise to speak on behalf of the National Trade Union Congress and the Civil Society Steering Committee to address my position for the Vocational Education Development Bill 2022. I stand to state that I believe that we should proceed to pass this bill because of the need for the provision of the highest standard and quality education and services in our Belize. And by doing so, we must also ensure to include all stakeholders, especially the trade unions. I ask that I may refer to my notes.
Yes, you may.
In order to develop these IT vets, we must improve the quality of the resources, monitoring programs, evaluations, and especially certified trainers. No more putting a strain on our unions to create employment for uncertified individuals or demanding increase in revenue. Madam President and Honorable House, let's pass this bill so that we may ensure that our trade unions are equipped with certified personnel, thus creating employment for certified trainers or quality services for customers and better opportunities for all. Take it for instance, We no longer have the same English and math teachers teaching vocational and training courses while uncertified in the area. Instead, we would have certified trainers which will lessen the strain on our unions, such as the BNTU, PSU, or NTUCB, who all seek to provide A-grade services. 3 years ago, during the National Children's Parliament 2019, Honorable Mia Blair rightfully concluded with the words, and I quote, "It is time to move past the normal pen and paper examination and testing," end of quote. Madam President, I, Senator Sosa, say to you, we must develop what we already have and extend our arms to all those in need of the vocational education system. Let me remind you that this bill isn't here for us to build new institutions in every municipality, but rather to develop them. Let's help those institutions and their trainees and those who will join in the future by providing the tools they need to develop themselves today and Belize tomorrow. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Garbut.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise on behalf of the government. The Vocational Education Bill 2022 is a great way for our youths to explore a variety of skills and knowledge, and that same knowledge that they learn will help them to gain financial stability in the future as well. May I please refer to my notes? A report by the Statistical Institution of Belize in 2021 resulted that only 21.5% of youths even attend secondary levels and only 10% attend tertiary levels. We should be making the most out of the youths that even get to secondary and tertiary levels. Therefore, youth should be given all the opportunities to soak up the knowledge that they can learn throughout the education process before going on to the workforce. I know some youths are technical learners, and that is exactly what the vocational courses are: barbering, welding, electrical work, etc. Why aren't we thinking of ways that actually make schools a fun learning experience? We have to see what does and doesn't work when dealing with youths because their minds are young, and we have to mold them to be as successful as possible in the future because they are the future of our country. In the secondary levels, I see that some students don't even pay attention in their classes. All they do is put their heads on the desk and fall asleep. While in the tertiary levels, all they do is put effort and sleepless nights into their exams. Then they say, oh, I have a accounting degree. Then I spend the rest of my life doing something that I have absolutely no drive in. We have to be grabbing the attention during the classes and make students actually want to learn. There is a saying that states, if you love what you do, you never have to work a single day in your life. So I, Honorable Charles Garbutt, Vice President of the Senate, completely agree of the implementation of vocational courses in secondary and tertiary levels. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Velasquez.
A pleasant good morning, Madam President, guests, spectators, the media, and my fellow senators. I, Catherine Velasquez, rise as the Senate's leader of opposition to voice my disapproval towards the Vocational Education Development Bill 2022. Madam President, may I please refer to my notes?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. As stated in the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, it affirms that every child has a right to education. The purpose of education is to enable the child to develop to his or her highest possible potential and to learn respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. This then brings us to this question, Madam President. Are we really doing our best to provide the means for every child to have access to education? Statistics have shown that over 400,000 of the people living in Belize, over 400,000, only 732 are enrolled in technical vocational education at only 6 sites around the country. Hence, Belize isn't economically stable to handle this type of education. Let me break it down for you a bit. If we do not find certified instructors to provide this level of education, who will do so? Our teachers, those who are just recovering from a 10% cut. There has been a continued freeze on increments for a 3-year period, yet we want to put this extra load on them. They will require certification for them to become trade instructors. Will you pay for this, or should they take this from their salaries too? On the other hand, there will be an increase of tuition for students. Let us look at it from this point. Gas prices are going up. Grocery prices are going up. Even fried chicken prices are going up. Now you want to add education to the list. Nonsense! You think they have the money for this? For those who don't, their right to education is being stripped away. This should not be so. Talking about money, where will we get the funds needed for this? It's easy to say, let's do this, let's do that. But again, who will monitor this? This is not an easy pill to swallow, How can we jump to something so new if we do not even have answers to the complaints we hear from our education system today? Yeah, we want to create sustainable child-friendly municipalities to grow and educate a child. Is this what we are doing? Let me tell you this. A man who moves mountains needs to begin by carrying away small stones. With this being said, Madam President, I would really like you to carefully consider this bill and the impact it can have on both our future and present generation. This is why I stand here today as a voice of all the children of Belize, pleading that you build a firm staircase for us to reach for success before moving on to the next level. Set the example and act on the issues affecting our education today by listening to the Belizean people, for they know what they want and what is best for the future generation of Belize. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Hernandez.
Hello? Okay. Good morning, Madam President and honorable parliamentarians. And thank you for giving me the floor. In the US, 56% of students drop out only after 6 years of college, whereas only 10.6% of PVET students drop out. Many countries are beginning to apply vocational education to their education systems in order to reduce both dropout and unemployment rates. In addition to that, students who tend to drop out due to lack of motivation show and get better results due to the fact that vocational schools are more entertaining and engaging than sitting down and listening to a lecture. In the case that vocational education gets applied to Belize's education system, the Council of Churches and the youth will be able to benefit in 2 ways. The first is the practical part. Modern-day churches, houses, schools, and commercial buildings need to be built and maintained. This requires plumbers, electricians, AC technicians, and the list goes on. This immediately provides jobs for recent vocational school graduates to enter the workforce and make a solid living. The second aspect of it is the spiritual part. In the Bible, it is stated that working with your hands pleases God and provides a peace of mind. Many righteous men in the Bible had jobs that required working with their hands. For example, Jesus and Joseph, his father, were carpenters. Paul made tents, and Abel was a shepherd. May I please refer to my notes?
Yes, you may.
Psalms 128:2 states, You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours. In conclusion, I, Ophelia Hernandez, the representative of the Council of Churches, am for the bill. Thank you. God bless Belize and its people.
I recognize Senator Al-Quran.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise on behalf of the government to say that I do agree with this bill. May I refer to my notes?
Yes, you may.
Yes, there are things that must be polished and reconsidered, but this bill will help the future of our country. We should provide vocational courses to our students, not only in some high schools, but I believe all of them. Our youth must have diverse skills to know their way around this rapidly changing world we live in. How can they do that when we're only providing them with skills that make them work under someone else? Preparing our youth with skills that will allow them to make their own businesses and their own ideas would help the country develop and find better sources of income. All students should have the opportunity to learn both vocational and traditional educational courses. The vocational courses we provide should be able to teach them skills that can be used in more than one field of work. Belize currently has 7,975 established businesses, according to a survey taken in 2021. And 1 in 2 of them hire about 2 to 5 people. With a population of 404,915 and a workforce of 177,715, that means roughly around 39,875 people from the population could potentially get hired by established businesses, which leaves 137,840 unemployed. Do we see how big of a problem this is? We tend to ask ourselves why our country's poverty rate is 51%. Here is the answer. We do not have jobs for our people. We need to diversify our sources of income. We've been heavily dependent on tourism, and COVID-19 has shown us all how quickly our economy could crash because of it. There's a common saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So why have we continuously been doing this? Giving our youth the critical skills and resources necessary through these vocational courses will allow them to become self-independent and entrepreneurial. This will create more businesses and increase job opportunities. Having vocational courses in our high schools is important and should be offered to all the youth in the country. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise on behalf of non-governmental organizations to state why I believe this Vocational Education Development Bill 2022 should be approved. May I refer to my notes? Integrating academic and vocational education will give students more career options and improve school retention. You may ask, how does non-governmental organizations feel about this bill? Non-governmental organizations are not saying yes to this bill because we have anything to gain, but because the youth of Belize will gain exponentially by learning their trade of choice and expanding their opportunities in their trade. NGOs are crucial as they are important contributors in educating Belizeans. We can help in filling in the gaps left by the government, even if that may be financially or ethically. You may think, what even is the purpose of an NGO? Take Oceana as an example. You may think, what do they even do? I'll tell you what they do. They take care of our aquatic ecosystem, keep our coral reefs intact. And just like that, we want to keep our future of our country intact, the future being us, the youth. Did you know that over 700 students dropped out of secondary school in 2019 to 2020? As well as the 856 students that enrolled in PVET that same period. If there was a higher capacity for vocational education for students who may have preferred vocational training, the number of dropouts could have been reduced. In addition, children and young people who find their calling in vocational jobs have the potential to be successful. If vocational training is institutionalized within the government education system, it would bring more awareness to vocational education and its credibility. This bill will open up more opportunities for meaningful collaboration between the government and NGOs in order to strengthen the education system and serve Belize's educational needs. In conclusion, the Education and Training Vocational Education Development Bill will be a positive way forward for education in Belize. Let's come together and make Belize's future a bright one.
I recognize Senator Reyes.
Thank you, Madam President. May I please refer to my notes? I rise on behalf of the government to surely agree with this bill because education is one of our top priorities. As a Belizean once said, educators should not work hard to produce high-performing students to make schools look good, but to educate young people so they can fit successfully into our communities and help them become productive. I believe that if all high schools and territorial level institutions programs had a vocational educational development unit, they would find something they are passionate about. I believe that all schools around the country should have certificate courses. A meal tech gets paid $50 to $100 for a set of meals. They take around 1 to 3 hours to do one set. If you calculate 12 hours divided into 2, it's around 6 sets per day if they're really booked. They make around 300 to 500 in one day. A painter can make 10 paintings and they can sell it for $60 each. They make around 600 of those paintings. 600 out of those paintings. This shows we Belizeans can make a living out of our talent, and I know Belize is full of talent. Not everyone wants to be a liar, doctor, or high-degree person. With these courses, students will find their talent and what they are passionate about. At my school I go to, we have certificate courses. I've experienced this. I've learned so many new skills like making jewelry, doing painting, coding, and many more. So I know this will be a great impact in our country. They'll make money on things they love doing. We don't want our generation getting a job and not loving what they do for a living. For this to be possible, schools should have private sectors that are local or international to help them gain the skills that they will need. The cost of this annually would be around $20,000 for each instructor. The way we can raise money is selling or giving service to the community on skills you have learned. We can show the community that having vocational educational development unit can help us be someone in this community. I live at Kikaker, and where I'm from we barely have any plumbers, electricians, IT technicians, and more. So by including these programs, we'll be able to expand the amount of job we have to offer. We should ensure that all schools have the supply that is necessary to offer high quality work, so the students can be able to learn better, be in a comfortable environment, and be able to do their courses. So many changes can be done in Belize. With better education comes a better future for our generation. We'll be able to obtain skills that will allow us to create successful business and land a successful job. So in conclusion of this bill, schools should prioritize the vocational educational development unit so students can find their passion and allow us to provide necessary skills to our community. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Rivas.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise on behalf of the opposition. May I please refer to my notes?
Yes, you may.
After reading and reviewing the bill, specifically section 3.1, I question, why do we need a whole new unit in the Ministry of Education to carry out the functions of vocational training? There already exists a unit inside the ministry that supervises the work of these vocational institutions. How will this additional unit be funded? What is the structure of the unit? Will the staff of the current unit be transferred to this new unit?
I recognize Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I refer to my notes?
Yes, you may.
I rise on behalf of the government to agree 100% with this vocational educational development bill. Many kids have more love for something tangible that they can feel, explore, or even unlock new skills. I believe that these youths should be given the opportunity to discover their talents, creativity, and unique skills through the vocational program. The vocational educational program is beneficial because these youths can convert a passion into an income, various experiences and knowledge that could help them in the future. Also, they have a higher chance of being entrepreneur than working for someone else. Madam President, but how about the high school dropouts that want a second chance? Madam President, in the statistics shown by UNESCO in the year 2020, let me tell you, 19.7%, that is 6,140 in number, dropouts between the ages of 13 to 16 years old. How about the other secondary and tertiary level schools who will not or be included, since there's only 2 secondary and 1 tertiary level that will be getting this vocational course? I have a high curiosity for my people in the Toledo East. Madam President, did you know that from the ages of 0 to 14 years, 59.8% is in poverty? I strongly agree with this bill for my people to have a better chance in life and also provide for the next generation to come and know they have a good possibility to earn income and also an occupation. Madam President, I would like to leave you all with a quote from one of our founding fathers, Right Honorable George Taylor. Creation was not finished at the dawn of this earth, but creation continues. And we have a lot to do to make this world a better place, close quotations. I am sure by implementing this bill for this country of ours and to our youth of this day, I believe this bill will make our small Belize a productive place. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Martinez.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Madam President. Thank you for giving me the floor. May I please refer to my notes? How would vocational programs in high school and in tertiary level institutions affect the Belize Chambers of Commerce and Industry? Would it have a positive effect or would it have a negative effect? If vocational programs are added to the high school and tertiary levels curriculum, the Belize Chambers of Commerce can only benefit. People tend to believe that vocational education is only fit for children that are not academically inclined. This is not true. Everyone can benefit from vocational education. It's not if you're intelligent or not, it's whether you're determined enough. In a research paper on the effects of the economy transformation upon selected high schools, vocational education programs in Southern California, the research shows that vocational training has reduced the number of students dropping out of school before they complete high school because education has become more meaningful to them. On page 10, chapter 2 of this same paper, they mention how, although industries employ highly educated people, they also employ people who can perform tasks that do not require a college education. With fewer people dropping out of school, businesses have more people to employ. And by employing more people, they can expand their business. In addition to that, having a highly trained workforce will attract foreign investors. Belize is a developing country and badly needs skilled technical people. If we could get more trained, skilled persons, they would be able to join the workforce and would immediately become assets to our country. After sending out a Google poll to 60 students and teachers, 98% of us could all agree that being more hands-on allows a better result. Vocational programs will do just that. It will give students an idea of the real world and prepare them for their future occupation. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Torres.
Good morning. I am honored to be a part of this historic third sitting of National Children's Parliament. I am awestruck at the level of decorum and professionalism exhibited by my fellow parliamentarians in this honorable house. Madam President, may I please refer to my notes? Thank you. I stand here as the leader of government business. Madam President, I start by stating that every child has an inalienable right to an education as outlined in Article 28 of the United Nations Convention on Rights of a Child, to which Belize is a signatory. Today, I present to you the 2022 Bill, Vocational Education Development, which I fully support. Not only because it was formulated by all the young people's votes, but because it is clearly beneficial to the young people of my generation and generations to come. Madam President, the government has been working towards creating a better environment for the young people of our country from the beginning. For instance, the Technical Vocational Education Training Institution in each of the 6 districts of Belize. Those ITVETs are for young people to equip skills, knowledge, work ethics, credentials that will allow them to be advantageously employed. In addition, the students of those ITVET programs will have a certificate that validates their technical competency, which holds the same value as a vocational tech course within any Caribbean country. Madam President, the government has recognized technical vocational education as a priority as outlined in the education factor of Plan Belize. This government has and will continue to properly equip and resource all existing ITVETs in order to improve the learning environment for the young people of our country and establish an ITVET scholarship fund to 100 skilled workers each year so as to enhance future workers. Madam President, this bill is just another step in achieving these goals. With this bill, we can create a divergent school setting and stop being conventional. In truth, the government has done a lot in regards to traditional education. It is time for a change, and the government will continue to make that change to the betterment of our country. Thank you. Madam President, I now move that the bill be put to question.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act of amendment, the Education and Training Act, Chapter 3601 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to provide for the expansion of education for children and young people in Belize, to provide for the vocational programs in all high schools and tertiary level institutions, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto, be read a second time. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
The Education Training Act, Chapter 36 of the 01 of the Substantive Laws of Revised Edition 2020, to provide for the expansion of education for children and young people in Belize, to provide for vocational programs in all high and tertiary level institutions, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Committee of the Whole Senate on Bill.
Honorable members, in accordance with the Standing Order 54, the Senate will now resolve itself into Committee of the Whole Senate to consider the bill that was read a second time. Honorable members, I will now take the chair as the chairperson of the Committee of the Whole Senate. Honorable members, I now call to order the Committee of the Whole Senate. Education and Training Vocational Education Development Bill 2022. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I rise to report that the Committee of the Whole Senate has considered the Education and Training Vocational Education Development Bill 2022 and passed it without amendment. I now move that the bill be read a third time.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act to amend the Question and Training Act, Chapter 3601 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to provide for the expansion of education for children and young people in Belize, to provide for vocational programs in all high schools and tertiary levels institutions, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto, be read a third time. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Those against, kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Act to amend the Education and Training Act, Chapter 3601 of the Substantive Laws of Revised Edition 2020, to provide for the expansion of education for children and young people in Belize, to provide for vocational programs in all high schools and tertiary level institutions, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto.
I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Move that the Senate do now adjourn.
Honorable members, the question is that the Senate do now adjourn. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Those against, kindly say no. I think the ayes have it. The Senate now stands adjourned.